We've all heard the expression that movement is medicine, but why is this not necessarily the best advice, and what could be better advice as far as movement being medicine is concerned, if you want to go that route? We're talking all about that and more in today's episode. Welcome to Fearless Fridays, where we are talking about everything health and wellness related. My name is Dr. Melissa Chofi. I am the owner of New Quest Physical Therapy, a mobile practice serving areas in New York and Connecticut. There is so much misinformation out there in regards to the medical field, and with our healthcare model increasingly putting profits over patients, you as consumers need to be given all the tools you need to demand what you deserve, ensuring a strong, resilient, fulfilled, and fearless life. My goal is to empower all of you to stand up for yourselves and be able to call bullshit in a realm that is confusing as fuck. Let's get into the episode. So one of my favorite questions to ask a new client is, what do you do for exercise? Are you exercising? And people will be like, oh yeah, I exercise all the time and I love exercise. And then when we get into the nitty gritty of what they mean by exercise, the answer is always so varied. And I didn't really realize this until I became a physical therapist, in that not everybody's on the same page as far as what is deemed exercise goes. And not many people realize the proper ways to exercise or what should be incorporated into an exercise program to get the most out of your health and to get the most out of your movement. So what I hear a lot of is, oh, I exercise all the time. And this can range from anything from somebody who has a job where they're on their feet all day long versus somebody who goes for frequent walks with their families, neither of which is bad, but it's actually a lot more to exercise than just that you should be actually doing to help protect your body. Another thing that I hear a lot is that people are going to the gym and they're lifting weights, which is awesome. Like, that makes me really excited. I love that. But then I'll be like, okay, so what types of things are you doing? And they're like, well, I go like this on a machine. Or they can't even tell me what they're doing because it's just like whatever's open is what they're trying as far as like those circuit equipment machines go. And then I'll follow up with, well, when's the last time you increased the weight or the resistance on the machine? And it's like, oh, well, I've been lifting the same thing for the last like 2 months. And I'll say, well, did you change your reps, your sets? And I'm like, I get down into it, guys. I ask a lot of questions on my intake. But a lot of people, what I'm finding is that they're doing themselves a great service by getting in the gym and lifting and trying that. But the problem is there's no concrete plan. So unless you're putting your body, as we've spoken endlessly about, and I'm going to reiterate this point to exhaustion, as long as you're not putting your body through something that's challenging and progressive, your body is not going to reap as great of a benefit as it would from an exercise program. So now when we talk about movement being medicine, stuff like walking, like I said, and being on your feet, that's great. But it's not an all-encompassing program. So movement being medicine is not only taking the movement aspect in, which is the walking part, which is doing your mobility exercises and all of that good stuff. It's also medicinal when it incorporates other things. So one of the main ones being strength training. And this is something that's being very, very underutilized by a lot of people that I've seen. I don't know about you guys, but I don't see too much strength training being done on the part of people out there. So this is a really, really overlooked portion of overall fitness. Now, why strength training is so important is that, as we know, over time, our bodies go through a lot of stuff. So what happens is those supportive structures around our joints, like muscles, like tendons, like ligaments, and all that gets compromised, just being that there's not much support around the joint. So muscles are very supportive. They can take on a lot of force, but we need to condition them to be able to appropriate that throughout our lives. And strength training is one of the ways to do that. It's been shown to help with bone density, integrity, and all of that good stuff too. So strength training is very, very important. I personally am not a huge fan of the strength circuit machines in the gym, but if that's what gets you going in strength training, then go for it. I love free weights. That's just me again. So, what you need, all of that being said, during a proper strength training program is someone who knows how to load you initially. So, being able to tax your body in ways that are going to benefit it. So, that goes with the weight you're using, it goes with the amount of repetitions you're doing, the amount of sets you're doing, depending on what your goals are. And especially if you're a newbie to all of this, the only way to really get that appropriate programming is to talk with a professional. And that's really, really important because it's very preventative. Strength training is a very preventative measure in that you ensure that your body is very resilient and you can take on a load and not get hurt. So like we hear like, oh my God, I bent down to lift up a case of water at BJ's and I threw out my back. But if you had been doing something, say, like a deadlift, and your body's used to that, you might not, I'm not going to say in absolute that that wouldn't have happened, but the likeliness of that happening probably would have been a lot less if you had been strength training. So this is why I really think strength training is very important and is very much a part of the movement is medicine idea, because it actually is kind of medicinal, being that you're building your body up for resilience. Another part of mobility or movement being medicine is this idea of stability. So I guess that's not really a movement thing, but it actually is. A lot of us, I actually just got off doing a webinar with a friend of mine who's also a physical therapist, and we were talking about how important breath work is and how being able to breathe through a lift or a movement, like an everyday movement, is so, so important. And a lot of people negate the importance of this, and it really should be a core piece of their exercise work. So what a lot of us do if we're lifting something that's way too heavy, what do? We hold our breath. So what happens is there's so much pressure that accumulates in your abdomen. That gives you a false sense of stability so that the muscles that should be working to stabilize, so that's your abs, the extensors, the lumbar extensors, or your back muscles, and your pelvic floor. And men, you have pelvic floor too. All of those muscles are just like, oh, well, somebody else is doing my work. I just don't need to do anything. And they all, over time, will learn that they don't really need to work as hard to stabilize. So this comes with a lot of problems, as you can tell, or can foresee from that. So what happens is those muscles all don't really do their job that well, and then may compromise things down what we call the kinetic chain. So this could lead to hip problems, knee problems, back problems, pelvic floor problems. So what I see a lot in my practice is that women who are lifters have what we call urinary incontinence, or they experience leakage of urine when they're trying to lift because their pelvic floor is not strong enough to accommodate for that pressure. So breathing and stability are really important. Another aspect of stability that's also really important is being able to incorporate balance and balance work and single leg work into a routine, mainly because even when we're just walking, so much of our time is spent functioning on one leg. We're in what's called single leg stance a lot throughout our walking cycle. So if you're not really used to training in different environments and training this balance part, that's one of the things that are going to deteriorate. And that's why so many older people may have balance issues and trouble walking, is because their nervous system and their bodies aren't used to the performing in this way. So balance work and stability is really, really important in incorporating in a fitness program as well. And the last piece of importance is what's called endurance. So this is something that's really important for heart health, for lung capacity. It's important for long-term activities like walking a long distance, walking up and down a hill, walking up and down the stairs. And being that a lot of us live very sedentary lives, our endurance isn't really the best, and it could actually be better. So another part of how movement is medicine is to condition the lungs, to condition the heart, to condition your body in that it's receiving adequate blood flow and oxygen in that blood. Endurance training is really, really important. But again, you have to know what your starting point is, what your limitations are, and how you can progress from your start to your finish appropriately without putting you at risk or in danger. So, movement as being medicine, it's not enough to just say, oh, I just do this one thing and I'm going to be good for the rest of my life. Fitness is multifaceted, and a lot of people don't realize this. They think that if they just do this one thing or buy this workout video off of the TV or buy this crazy jumping program. Like, remember when Insanity was a thing? I hated that. But remember when Insanity was a thing? So I'm not against all home workout programs. I think there's some really good ones out there. The problem I have with these things are that they're very cookie cutter, being that it's sold to a vast majority of people claiming that it's for everyone when in fact it's not. You're not being properly assessed. You don't really know how to progress yourself appropriately in ways that actually matter and in ways that are actually going to be beneficial to your body. So I hate to do a plug here, but this is where a professional honestly comes in. Like, even I see people sometimes for one visit just to teach them how to program and how to progress their exercise program and what they should be doing. And then we have check-ins where I will look at their program and make tweaks to it. Sometimes if you are, especially if you're inexperienced, you need that professional to not only assess you, and you need a thorough assessment, because where are you going to start from if you're talking to somebody for 5 minutes or not talking to them at all and they're not watching how you move and they're not assessing you? There is no way that you can get an appropriate program from that if you don't really know how to start and where to go from there. So the only way to get progression from movement and from exercise and building an appropriate program is talking to a professional, or even better, if you just go and learn it yourself. Like, there's so many online programs right now that are teaching the benefits of strength programming and exercise programming, and you can find a reputable source in teaching yourself that, or you can go to somebody and have them assess you and then build a program for you that's appropriate and individualized. That's the main thing, is that every program should be individualized to you, unless you know how to modify that program to your specific needs, if that makes sense. So, as always, guys, just keep educating yourselves, keep asking questions, demand more of your healthcare and your healthcare providers, and most importantly, stay fearless. And we'll see you next week.